Good evening. I'm Carrie Sliva with the City of El Mirage Communications and Public Affairs team. Also presenting tonight is Deputy City Manager Robert Nilles. Welcome to the Bond 2023 Public Information Meeting. I'd like to remind everyone attending that the purpose of the meeting is to provide information about the bond program and the election. By law, city staff cannot advocate for a yes or no vote on the bonds, or even tell you our opinions on the bond election. We're just here to provide information. Okay. In tonight's agenda, we will cover what is a bond, background information, bond projects, financials, the election process, and question and answers with comment cards. Comment cards have been placed on the chairs. Please write your question, and if the questions are relevant to the bond election and we can provide an answer at the end of the presentation, we will. If we do not have the answer or are unable to answer, we will respond to your questions via email during city office hours, which are Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And we also encourage you to visit elmirageaz.gov/bond2023. And I will now turn it over to Deputy City Manager Robert Nilles for the next segments, what is a bond and background.
Looks like we'll be moving this up and down as we do our individual presentations. Thank you, Carrie. As Carrie mentioned in the introductory part, as city staff, we are not allowed under state law to advocate for or against the bonds. So our presentations are by design somewhat scripted, and you'll see us referring to them on a frequent basis. So the first thing we want to start with is, what is a general obligation bond or a GO bond? GO stands for General Obligation Bond. Simply put, selling bonds is a way for cities to build public infrastructure now and pay for it over time. The funds may only be used for the specific projects approved by the voters. Similar to how a home mortgage works, cities use bonds to finance large construction projects such as buildings, streets, and infrastructure. To put it another way, GO bonds are debt, basically a loan that is repaid over time, usually from property taxes. The city sells bonds to investors to generate cash for the projects, and then pays the investors back with interest over a period of years. The payoff term on the proposed bonds would be approximately 30 years. The next few slides will give you some background on the proposed bond and other past bond issues for the city of El Mirage. In the last 20 years, the city of El Mirage has held two bond elections, one in 2005 and the other in 2011. The most recent bond election in 2011 paid for the construction of the police station and the recreation facility that houses the YMCA, both of which are located on Cinnabar Avenue. In formulating recommendations for the 2023 special bond election, the City Council relied on a number of factors. According to the last census in 2020, El Mirage's population totaled 35,805. And has grown 12.6% since the 2010 census, adding an estimated 4,008 people. Growth figures were taken into consideration in the areas of residential, commercial, and industrial. External studies were conducted by the city that looked at the conditions and capacities of existing facilities. Cities routinely use the expertise of professional planners in order to properly calculate street, facility, and service impacts on the community. A facilities needs study and a courthouse master plan are two of the plans that were utilized in determining the 2023 bond election. In addition, the city's general plan, the city's facilities master plan, the POCO citizen survey, and other plans were used. The factors considered were prioritized based on the benefits to the community, the impact on taxes and the citizens' debt limit, and the city's debt limit, the city's ability to execute projects, the city's ability in the future to fund the operations and maintenance of the new facilities, and the long-range planning for city facilities, including the capacities at those facilities. Now I'll turn it back over to Carrie.
Numerous council discussions have been held over the past year on current impacts on service and on long-range planning for growth and expansion of city facilities. City council work sessions were conducted to determine what items should be included. It was determined in 2022 that the earliest a bond measure could be placed on a ballot, pursuant to state law, would be at a special election in November of 2023. Then on April 18, 2023, the El Mirage City Council passed a resolution to hold a special election on November 7, 2023 for a $41.5 million bond measure. The breakdown of proposed bond projects amounts to $21.5 million for public safety facilities and $20 million for city facilities. The projects will all be on the ballot in one question, meaning a yes vote by the voters would approve issuing debt to fund the projects, and a no vote would not. As a result of the study and prioritization process, 4 projects are proposed on the bond measure. They are a second fire station, an expansion of the existing police station, a new courthouse, and an expansion of City Hall. The second fire station. The number of emergency and non-emergency calls continues to increase as El Mirage grows in population. From 2002 to 2022, the number of calls has increased 142%. From 1,900 calls in 2002 to 4,600 calls in 2022. The city's current fire station, located at Thunderbird and El Mirage Road, was occupied in 2012. And the number of calls in the last 10 years has increased 48%. In particular, response times south of Cactus Road continue to remain above 4 minutes to reach an incident. In 2012 and 2018, the Insurance Services Office, or ISO, the organization that sets insurance ratings used to determine residential and commercial insurance rates for residents, completed evaluations of the city of El Mirage. And the results of both ISO evaluations reflected a lack of infrastructure for fire protection in the southern area of the city. In 2021, the City Council commissioned a follow-up study on the operational readiness of the fire department, and the Center for Public Safety Management, again, identified the need to reduce response times. Included in the proposed bond measure is a second fire station, which would be located in the southern portion of the city. At approximately 17,000 square feet, it would have 4 bays to house additional fire apparatus, personnel, and equipment. Placement of this second fire station should result in decreased response times. The existing El Mirage Police Department facility was occupied in 2013, staffing 57 employees and 2 volunteers. Since then, staffing for the department has grown to 82 employees and 3 volunteers, an increase of 45.6%. Conference rooms have been turned into storage areas, and employees are working in interview rooms and closets. The council commissioned a police operational study in 2021. The Center for Public Safety Management recommended constructing additional space for the El Mirage Police Headquarters facility by approximately 25%, or 5,000 square feet. The expansion proposed in the bond measure would accommodate the current and recommended staffing numbers, as well as secured parking. In particular, the El Mirage Police Department's Investigations Bureau space would be enlarged, and this unit handles criminal investigations, including complex homicides, violent crimes, sex crimes, crimes against children, gang investigations, and fatal collisions. To summarize, the existing police station would be expanded by approximately 5,000 square feet to include additional personnel space, a larger investigations bureau area, and additional secured parking. There we go. The bond measure also includes proposed funding for a new courthouse. The current El Mirage City Court is located inside a facility constructed in the early 1980s as a community center. The El Mirage City Court shared a facility with City Water Department until 2001, when a fire forced co-location with other courts for the next 6 years. It has been in its current location for 16 years, and it was not designed nor intended to be a courthouse. The caseload of the city court, there we go. The caseload of the city court has increased over the years, with the number of cases filed increasing by 84% from 2008 to 2020. Cases resolved increased by 163% in that time, and personnel positions have increased by 53%. An external study conducted by DLR Group for the Courthouse Master Plan in February 2022 determined that the overall building effectiveness rating was poor. It cited inadequate amenities for personnel, technology, and the general function of the court, including ADA accessibility issues. The safety and security of the facility rated fair, as did the overall performance of the facility. In addition, a court security assessment conducted in March 2022 by the Judicial Branch Security Threat Assessment Group recommended security-related changes to address public traffic control, employee parking, and building design. Court visitors currently wait in line outside the building under a temporary trellis. The study concluded that there was no space to make adaptations for the court to work in its current building. The bond measure would include the construction of a new courthouse building to address court safety concerns, modernize the facility, and provide ADA compliant space to address all court matters. The proposed court facility would be built to eliminate the need for customers to wait outside and allow the implementation of contemporary technology to serve the community. The proposed 18,000 square foot facility would be near the proposed new fire station in the southern portion of the city, which allows for closer proximity to the other city departments, including police and administrative services. And the fourth proposed project in the bond measure is the expansion of City Hall. The current City Hall at 10,000 North El Mirage Road was occupied in 2016 with 30 employees. There are currently 40 employees. The 2022 City Facilities Master Plan, which was referenced earlier, reviewed the current configuration of City Hall. The space plan reports that over the next 20 years, the city should plan to provide space for approximately 60 employees. City Hall houses City Council chambers, administrative services, community services, development services, which include city code, planning and zoning, engineering and building safety, finance, economic development, and information and technology. Some offices originally designed for one employee are housing multiple employees. Conference and meeting rooms and storage space have been converted to office space. The city is currently holding off adding personnel and services until space is available. Since the number of conference rooms has been reduced from 5 to 2, City Council currently moves to other city facilities when council chambers is being utilized for other public purposes, such as a voting center. The proposed two-story City Hall expansion would add approximately 8,500 square feet. It would include its own building entrance, offices, conference rooms, and restrooms. In summation, here are the highlights of the 4 proposed projects in the bond measure. There is a handout on the back table of this slide, and I'll now turn it back to Robert to review the financial components of the bond measure. I can mention as well that this PowerPoint is already on the website, the presentation, at the website we've mentioned previously.
So this is the section where we get to talk about the numbers related to the bond issue and the impact for tax purposes. So if passed in November, the bond measure would result in an increase in secondary property taxes after the bonds have been issued. The financial impact of the bond election will vary from resident to resident based on property values and the amount of bonds issued. The estimated average annual tax rate per $100 of assessed valuation is $1.13.67. The estimated tax impact over the term of the bonds on a residential property would be approximately $142.75 or $142.75 per year on a $100,000 residence. That's assessed at 10% of full cash value, or to put it another way, $4,140 total over the 29 years life of the bonds that's been identified. The average valuation of a home in El Mirage is $86,275 according to the state abstract of the rolls. So that will give you some context on a $100,000 home versus an $86,275 home in El Mirage. As required by law, we also have included the estimated impact on a $250,000 home as well. So this chart shows the overall composition of El Mirage taxpayers. 64% of the city's taxpayer revenues are derived from residential. 36% of city taxpayer revenues are derived from other sources such as commercial and agricultural. And by taxpayer revenues, I'm talking about property taxes. It is of some importance to note that over the last year, the other category has increased by 2% from 34 to now 36%. Commercial property, or businesses as we often refer to them, they also pay property taxes. The impact of the proposed bond measure on commercial property, assessed at 17% of full cash value, compared to the lower 10% that's utilized for residential property, over the term of the bonds would be $2,426 per year and more than $70,000 total over the 29-year period. For agricultural property or other vacant property, the impact of the proposed bond measure on a $100,000 property assessed at 15% of full cash value over the term of the bonds is estimated to be $214.10 per year, or for 29 years, that would be a total of $6,209. With that, I will go ahead and turn it back over to Carrie to provide additional information.
We will now review the process for the 2023 special bond election to be held November 7th, 2023. As we mentioned earlier, numerous council workshops have been held over the past year on current impacts on services and long-range planning for growth and expansion of city facilities. And this resulted in the City Council passing Resolution R230406 on April 18, 2023, calling for the special bond election to be held November 7, 2023. This is a ballot by mail election. The Maricopa County Elections Department will mail a ballot to every qualified elector in the city. A completed ballot by mail, including the signed affidavit envelope, must be received at the Maricopa County Recorder's Office no later than 7:00 p.m. on November 7, 2023. Voters will not vote in person, but a ballot replacement site will be available where voters may receive and cast replacement ballots. The replacement center voting starts 8 days prior to Election Day. It will be open October 30 and remain open through Election Day at the times shown. And completed ballots may also be dropped off at the replacement center at City Hall. The ballot will contain one question. A yes vote shall authorize the governing body of the city to issue and sell $41.5 million of general obligation bonds to the city to be repaid with secondary property taxes. A no vote shall not authorize the governing body of the city to issue and sell bonds of the city. Arguments for and against the bond for printing in the publicity pamphlet are being accepted now by the city clerk's office. Each argument is limited to 300 words and must contain a sworn statement of the person submitting it. There is a sample on the website at elmirageaz.gov/bond 2023. There is a fee of $75 per argument, which is paid at customer service. Arguments are due July 20th, 2023 by 5:00 p.m. by emailing the statement to bond23@elmirageaz.gov. An informational pamphlet, also known as a publicity pamphlet, which explains the bond election in greater detail, will be mailed to each household within the city that contains a registered voter, and these will be sent on or before October 3rd, 2023. Voter registration is handled by the Maricopa County Elections Department, and you can visit beballotready.vote to check your status, register and track your ballot. You can receive text updates by texting JOIN to 628-683. Also, paper voter registration forms are available at City Hall and here at the El Mirage Library. And the deadline to register to vote for this special 2023 bond election is October 10, 2023. Here's a timeline of the election. We will have 2 more public informational meetings on August 16th and October 11th here at the library. Voter registration deadline again, October 10th. And ballots will be mailed by Maricopa County Elections October 11, and November 7 is Election Day. But remember, this is a special ballot by mail election, as we noted before. Okay. Our final agenda item tonight is questions and answers. If you have not already, please submit your questions on the comment cards provided and bring them to the front. If it is a question directly related to the bond election that we can answer, and then we will read it and answer it. If we do not have the answer or are unable to answer it, we'll respond to your questions via email during city office hours, which again are Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. As a reminder, our answers must be educational and informative only. And by law, city staff cannot advocate for a yes or no vote on the bonds or even tell you our opinion. We're just going to take a pause now to review any questions, and then we'll return in just a moment. Okay.
Sorry to jump in there. Just one point of clarification. One of the slides earlier, it mentioned a $41 million bond. It's actually $41.5 million, $21.5 million for public safety and $20 million for city facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, and we'll correct the slide online as well. Okay, so again, we're going to take a pause, and if you do have a question, write it on the card and bring it forward, and we'll just take a moment to organize that. The following slides include all questions that were asked at the informational meeting on June 14, 2023, and the answers that were emailed to those in attendance. What type of cases are heard in city court? How many cases a year are heard in court, and is there any structural damage to the court? Answer: criminal misdemeanors, petty offenses, civil traffic, local code and zoning ordinance violations, all protective order requests, and proceedings. Number of case filings. This question was answered during the presentation on slide 19. The caseload of the city court increased from 2008 to 2020, with the number of cases filed increasing by 84% from 2008 to 2020. Cases resolved increased by 163% in that time, and personnel positions increased by 53%. There is no structural damage to the court. Question: does the $14 million court include an underground sally port? The courthouse master plan contains conceptual options A and B. Option A does and option B does not. What days does city judge work? Answer: Monday through Thursday. What is the interest rate on this bond? The estimated interest rate on the bonds is 5%. What is the total amount of this bond and interest to be paid off in 30 years? The estimated total cost of the proposed bond authorization, including principal and interest, is $79,271,667. How much is the interest rate on the bonds? The estimated interest rate on the bonds is 5%. How much does the city owe from the last two bonds? Answer: as of July 1, 2023, the city has $16,379,950 of 20% and $1,480,050 of 6% that applies toward the city's constitutional debt limitations, which is $72,262,770, 2023-24. How many fire calls are fire plus medical? Answer: all incident responses, fire and medical. 2018, 3,933, average 10.8 responses per day. 2019, 3,902, average 10.7 responses per day. 2020, 4,550, average 12.5 responses per day. 2021, 4,812, average 13.2 responses per day. 2022, 4,600, average 12.6 responses per day. Do we do trials in our city? Answer: yes. Courthouse, when was it last remodeled? Answer: the last remodel project occurred in 2015. The restrooms were structurally altered to allow for staff access. Remodel defined as a change to the structure or form of something, especially a building. Damage to the court. Answer: there is no structural damage to the court facility. A recent repair included water intrusion in a storage area behind the main chambers, which was repaired. Verbal question: court assessment report. Answer: the El Mirage Courthouse Master Plan and other plans are found on the city's website at Facilities and Parks Master Plans. The website elmirageaz.gov. Did we say the average home was $86,000 in El Mirage? Answer: the figure referenced in the presentation of $86,275 is based on the state abstract of the roll. The county provides the valuation it uses for tax purposes to the state. Thank you for joining us. Please visit elmirageaz.gov/bond 2023 for more information about the upcoming special bond election, November 7, 2023.